Hello, hello. Episode 242 of Backpacking America. Excuse my mess over here. Ow. All right, that's as clean as that dresser's gonna get. This is an episode I've been wanting to do for a while, but I don't have a lot of research on it. So there's various topics we're gonna be talking about today, particularly human trafficking, home invasions, skinwalkers, and the paranormal, but I do not have, this arsenal of knowledge. There's going to be more of a topical discussion about it. And one of the things that I really wanted to cover was skinwalkers. So, or cryptids or jinn in the Islamic world. And some fact checking that I want to do, as well as some creepy crawly stuff that I've experienced and some stuff that I've seen on TikTok. So, a lot of this stuff too, not that I've never heard of it before TikTok, but I'll like doom scroll. I don't know if y'all ever do that, but I love the doom scroll on TikTok and just be like, "Oh, I'm really scared about this. I'm really scared about that." Um, so when it comes to the creepy crawlies, as I'll call them, because some people get freaked out if you call them by their actual name. Um, that's one of the things I want to talk about. So when you're in a environment, so like if you say skinwalker, right? You're not summoning that entity into your presence because the only way you're gonna summon it by saying it is if you speak a native language. So if you speak a Navajo tongue, you speak an Apache tongue, etc. Even Iroquoian. If you speak those languages, that's when you and you say those words for skinwalker or Jin or whatever, then you summon it. Maybe I shouldn't be saying the J word so much because that's actually how you say it in Arabic. But anyway, well, I guess I'm going off air and I'm getting killed by a monster. But anyway, these entities, right? Like they are very interesting. So how it is in the world of also for Instagram people, I can't see your comments. I flipped my phone the other way, so it's actually like real so the image isn't flipped backwards. Um but for the for the skinwalkers and such, like they are shapeshifters. So they're people with shamanic powers. So they could be shamans, but they're like, yo, I'm going to be the gangster of the spiritual world and I'm going to be a hitman. So basically, what they do is people pay them to stalk you, scare you, put a curse on you, and they shapeshift into different things to try and mess with you. A lot of people get their information about skinwalkers from the Skinwalker Ranch series, which is on Netflix and was on cable TV beforehand. And I think what they're experiencing out in that area is not skinwalkers per se, but I think it's a variety of things, particularly extraterrestrial and paranormal and borderline spiritual. I don't think it's necessarily a skinwalker because again, those are they're people that can shapeshift and turn into different things. They could turn to loved ones, they could turn to pets, they could turn to random people, they could turn into anything really. Creepy crawly monsters. They're regular people that could shapeshift. So so is the native legend. Um, they can also possess people. It depends how strong they are. Um, so really, what a lot of people see is when they see weird shit in the woods, and they're like, what is that?" That's when they're like, "Oh, it must be a skinwalker." Especially if you're in the Appalachian region. So Appalachia is older than all of Earth's history combined. If anything, Appalachia it's billions of years old. When Earth was first formed, the peaks of the Appalachian Mountains were exposed. Those mountains have been there, like the landscape in the mountains and its valleys and such has remained the same since time immemorial. So there is a lot of dead shit in those mountains and valleys. And there's a lot of creepy shit as such because there's a lot of energy attachment to it. It's one of the first habitable surfaces or even inhabitable surfaces of the earth that has been exposed to anything that could walk on it. A lot of like, for example, Long Island, where we are right now, was underwater. It was a part of another continent at one point, I think, and where it was like a piece of a landmass. So it's like Long Island isn't that old. Texas isn't that old. At the Appalachian Mountains are the oldest form of Earth. They are one of the first masses formed on Earth. They're ancient. They're ancient. They are an ancient mountain mass. So there's a lot of shit that goes on in those woods. Um, there's folklore that, you shouldn't go out past dark in the mountains or the woods because you'll never come back or you'll see something creepy. And while Long Island isn't necessarily something creepy, it is something. So I remember once I was driving with my friends around, I just got my license. And we were just like shithead high school kids. I think maybe I got home from college on my freshman break. And I was driving with them and we're pulling into my boy's Wayne's crib and there's this big field, this big vacant field, right? And my high beams are on because we see something in the woods. I'm not even making this up. We see something in the woods in the tree line. So it's like imagine like a flat field in front of you, and then there's just tree lines in the back. And we're like, what the fuck is that? So we turn on our flashes, my brights, right? And we see eyes and like this gray figure, like this fat, gray, weird looking figure. And we're like, what the fuck? So we just like dip out of there, right? Because I'm not dropping my boy off or stopping like right near that fucking thing. So we drove around for a little bit. We looked back to make sure it was there, and it ended up leaving. I hope I told the story right because I'm sure if I tell Kyle or Wayne, they'll be like, "Oh no no no, it ran away" or something like that. But it was still really freaky. So, that ended up happening, and then what else happened? So yeah, we drop him home. Really creepy. Um, that's like my only weird like story in the woods, seeing a weird thing in the woods type of deal, but I've been seeing a lot of people interacting with skinwalkers or just seeing creepy things in the woods. There's a lot of life out there we don't know about. And also the thing is too with a lot of these videos, like as much as it likes to make my soul jump a little bit because I always want to be like you guys ever see the memes where it's like we're gonna go hunting cryptids and it's like a bunch of dudes with like Kevlar helmets and ARs and shit. Like I low key I'm like I want to go cryptid hunting. But um, but most likely it's either CGI, AI, or someone dressing up. Some of them are very convincing, I'm not gonna lie. Some of them it's like I really do believe they are real. Um, real like real encounters. And then you see a lot of stories on Reddit, and of course, like those are even harder to verify, but it's a big part of our folklore, especially in the Northeast to have these weird occurrences in the woods, especially in the Southwest too. In the Southwest, they have a lot of um folklore with the cryptids and the skinwalkers and such. Another thing that's been freaking me out that I've been seeing on TikTok is home invasion TikTok, and it's very like home invasions are very common occurrence. Well, not common, but they do happen. I'll put it that way. And it's something that like I've been saying for years to people where it's like you should be prepared to defend yourself. So have whatever means are available at your disposal to defend yourself. Wink, wink, hint, hint. Um, because I saw one video and it'll always stick with me. It's when someone was unlocking their door and these guys pulled up. Guy was actually no. Here's what happened. The guy was walking out of his house to go to work, and these guys with Uzis and fucking Mac 10s and shit like stuck him up. And this was recent, and they pushed him into his house, and I think they killed him and someone else in their family. And the criminals have guns that are illegal. They have submachine guns. They're committing crimes with unregistered firearms or outright illegal firearms. And then you have, regular people that, the state's cracking down upon for having, a detachable magazine, uh, and more often than not, a detachable magazine because, um, the rifle has evil features on it. So you're gonna go get a felony because your rifle has um, a scary looking muzzle on it and a detachable magazine with 10 rounds in it. But, you know, dude that just invaded this guy's house had an Uzi and a Mac 10 that was fully automatic with a 30-round clip and then an extended clip in his other gun. So, like 60 rounds in the other clip. And it's like, these aren't legal guns. You can't own those guns unless I don't even think you can own an Uzi in the United. Oh no, some Uzis you can if it's before 1989. But, you know, you have to pay a tax stamp for that. And then in a lot of states, you can't even own these automatic rifles. So New York is one of them, California is another one, Connecticut, Massachusetts, I believe. Um, you can't own automatic weapons, even if they're before 1989. Because after 1989, there was a ban on newly manufactured automatic weapons. Because I don't know, gun control's gay or whatever. Anyway, that's a whole other subject, but basically I get really concerned with the home invasion aspect because it's like, oh, that's scary. And the only reason we know about these things is because of Ring cameras, which is like really cool. And albeit at first, like I was skeptical when they first came out. I was like, you know, security state, whatever, but they're essential. Like imagine like you're home alone at night and you hear shit going on outside, especially if you have the ring lights, you could like press a button. I found out you could like press a button on the app to light everything up, and then you can look at the different cameras without even having to leave your house, not even having to jeopardize yourself. So it's like you don't even have to put yourself in harm's way half the time. You could just look outside at your security cameras and then just be like, all right, bet, I'm going to work. I'm going to go do this. Or if you see something, you'd be like, oh, I'm not, now I'm awake and alert. I can call the police and then, see what the guy's doing. I mean, it's a win-win. There's a lot of, I see this too in California where there's people that post the ring videos. It's a lot of like homeless people just like knocking on doors, trying to get people out of their house and stuff, or trying to see if someone's there. Sometimes they're junkies. But what really disturbs me is there's people that like try to break into these houses and they try to like lure the owners up saying, "Oh, is so and so here, so and so there?" You know, that's something that freaks me out too. It's like, yo, like these people, there's people out there that really exist. And like as fun as it is to look at aliens or cryptids or whatever, um, or even the paranormal, uh, real people more often than not are the monsters. And as much as I'd love to get into to segue into some of my paranormal stories, I don't want to summon or claim any bad energy from those because they're really bad. If you know me in person, I probably told them to you before. But anyway, we're gonna go into the real end of it, which is human trafficking. That is something that is absolutely, oof, that's a big one. So a lot of people like I see a lot of claims like, "Oh, the Clintons are behind it. It's the government behind it. It's this behind." But and all right, I'm not gonna discount what they're saying because I remember in New York during COVID, the right wing was saying, "Oh, the nursing homes are almost putting people with COVID in nursing homes and it's killing people." And everyone was like, "Yeah, right, whatever. You're just mad you have to wear a mask." And they were fucking right. They were right about the nursing homes. They were right about a couple of other things too during that period of time. And so I can't really just definitively wave it off. I really can't. They were right twice. And yes, I know a broken clock is right twice a day, but still, there could be some merit to it. Jeffrey Epstein did not hang himself. So I mean there is that too. Um, but what's interesting is that, you know, you have a whole segment of people that are like dedicated to ending human trafficking. And we don't really know much about who these human traffickers are. Like, what groups are they a part of? What gangs are they affiliated with? If they are government involved, what government agencies are involved with them? Um, what individuals committing human trafficking? What type of industries are affected by it? What we do know is that the hospitality industry, so hotels, restaurants, the textile industry, um, that type of deal. Those industries have coerced labor, forced labor, etc. So basically, human trafficking operates on a couple of premises. It's either through coercion, where it's like, I'm going to fucking kill you, or I'm going to kill your family, you're coming with me, outright kidnapping and enslavement, or it's something where they give you false promises of employment, or they give you false promises of travel or educational funding, whatever. Like, oh, hey, like if you come here, you'll get an opportunity to travel around. I don't know. Here's a real example. I was out working an event, and I don't know what it was. This was like years ago. I was like 19 or 20, and I just remembered this now. Like actually earlier today because I was like, oh wow, I remember that. Human trafficking and false promises to travel. So I'm out at this event for a radio station I was working at the time. I was like 20, and I met this musician guy. I think he was affiliated with the station vaguely. I don't remember. But the guy was like, "Oh yeah, man, like you should totally come with me to Australia. You'd love it." And ba ba ba, like here, take my card, hit me up. I'd love to have you with me. And 50, you could be my parents' age. And I'm like, that's a little sus. Like you just met me like once or twice. The guy probably was drunk and gay and was like, "Oh." twink stoner boy. Now, I'm not gay, but I have like that build, I guess. And, you know, I was like, that's automatically, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, sure thing, buddy. And I'm walking away like I'm never fucking meeting up with this man or contacting him ever because that's terrifying. So, there's instances like that. It could be harmless, but it could also be something scary. There's things that I've seen on TikTok where, for example, real estate, right? So here's something where someone could be coerced or outright kidnapped. A woman was on TikTok explaining what she was doing for real estate. A lot of real estate agents have to prospect, go door knocking, etc. And this woman was taking pictures of a home that was going to be listed, or maybe it was going to be like toured. I don't know. So what ended up happening was the gentleman, if you can even call them that, their home, there were two of them. Their home was a mess. It was disgusting. It was a hoarder house, and there were cameras everywhere. And there was this one room at the top of the staircase, and it had a bunch of cameras on it, and it was locked. It had like 5 or 6 deadbolts on it. And the lady was like, "Oh, can I, go in there and check it out?" And they're like, if we put you in that room, we could kidnap you, and no one would ever know you're missing. And she's like, "Well, actually, people know where I am at all times. They know I'm here." And he was like, "Yeah, sure." And then she, bolted out of there, obviously. That was a really scary TikTok. I mentioned that on one of my clients' podcasts too. Definitely check out the Real Ted G podcast on Spotify and YouTube, as well as wherever else you get your podcast platforms, because he does a really good real estate podcast. Me and him were talking about that on the show the other day. And a lot of real estate agents get safety training, where at least at Coldwell Banker, they get safety training. I can't speak for the rest of the agencies, but it's like, if you get a weird feel, you shouldn't even go inside the house until there's like a set date and time where everyone's aware that you're, going in there. Oh, whoa, I just got a, Jesus Christ. Um, Twitch does this thing where when you get a subscriber, it dances on your screen and it alerts the shit out of you. Wow, that scared me. Anyway, um, scary topic we're talking about. I mean, there's even like, kids get lured away from their parents all the time. Uh, they, where someone will just be like, "Oh, come here, little boy," and then like the 5-year-old will start walking away, and then the kid disappears. Leaving your kid in a hot car, that is really dumb because someone could just break the window and take the kid. Um, it's also like your kid could die from heat more likely than not, but still, like there's a human trafficking element to it. Um, there were stories I've read where legitimate stories from the Department of Homeland Security where the there was like a woman that was coaxed from Nigeria to come to America and take care of this woman's house, basically be, a caretaker. And upon arrival, and this is how they do a lot of things with people that are international. They take their passport and their documents, and let's say you can't leave, and if you do, you're gonna get deported, and you'll never get this opportunity. So you're gonna work for little to no money in my house, and they get scared because all their money's gone. Sometimes what they'll do too is if they want to enslave you, they'll put you through penal slavery. So what they're peonage slavery or bondage. So what they'll do is they'll have you take out a bunch of debts, or they'll like make you max take out credit cards and max out the credit cards to buy a bunch of shit you can't afford to pay back. Or what the enslaver will do is they'll make you pay them for disobedience fees or cleaning fees or whatever, and they'll basically drain your bank account, and then you're trapped. So you don't have your documents and you don't have any money, and then you obviously, you're under full control at that point. And if you're already, what a lot of people do too is they prey on vulnerable groups. So, um, kids that are isolated and feel lonely and depressed and want belonging, young children that don't know any better, homeless children, homeless people, um, foster children. They'll, prey on people that are economically disadvantaged, people from other countries, immigrants, that type of deal. There's a difference too between human trafficking and smuggling. Um, the smugglers, right? The person being smuggled and the smuggler enter a contractual agreement where if you pay me $5,000, I will help you cross the border into from Mexico into the United States. You just have to pay me $5,000. And then the smuggler and the person agree upon that. and then that's what happens. They land at most of the time at the agreed upon location. So those are coyotes. That is consensual trafficking. That is consensual human movement. Non-consensual human movement is human trafficking, meaning you're coerced, coaxed, or kidnapped and then forced into doing labor or commercial sex for someone else's benefit. This is where we get into the whole Jeffrey Epstein thing and the whole Clinton lizard family thing. And then we also get into the confirmed end of it where there's multiple criminal elements and individual elements and loose network elements. So there's three different ways of it, right? There's the loose end of it where it's an individual that's like, okay, like there was these three girls that got kidnapped and one of them worked at a Burger King and they were kidnapped for like 10 years. My mom watched the whole Lifetime series on it. She knows so much about it. I know she's probably watching my live stream right now and commenting, and I know I can't even read it. But basically, um, the in that series, like these girls were kidnapped for like 10 years, like three of them, right? And they were in like the same town, and they were chained to a bed, and they were just like forced, like raped and whatever, and forced to do domestic work. And that was like that's what happens at like an individual level. There's one, maybe two people that you know kidnap a bunch of other girls or men, and either sell them out for sex or keep them as domestic servants, or just keep them for themselves. And that's at the individual level. The loose end of it, it's like local gangs or local like 5 or 6 different people, managing 5 or 6 different other, men, women, children, maybe 10 men, women, children. It's small businesses or they're at, farms or, like they're illegal immigrants working farms or at, legitimate businesses but using illegitimate labor. Um, to do it. There's also an end of it too where actually I'll get into that later. But then there's the criminal element of it, like the organized level of it, where it's major international crime syndicates or domestic crime syndicates that have dozens, if not hundreds, of people running a human trafficking ring, selling people at slave markets, buying people at slave markets, and constantly moving them around to satisfy the commercial sex side of it or the labor side of it. So a lot of times they'll buy illegal immigrants and put them at farms, or they'll buy um, men, women, and children that were kidnapped and sell them to people for sexual favors. And there's even like there was one example where um, there were a couple of men, women, and I believe a 12-year-old girl that were liberated from a prostitution ring that was operating out of truck stops around the country. So, they'll take people to truck stops and they'll be like, all right, you're going to get me $500. So they'll go and you know, those prostitutes at the truck stops are often called, in not my words, but trucking community, lot lizards. But there's some of them that are being coerced into it and they're not actually, just regular prostitutes trying to earn money off of their own efforts. They're being forced into prostitution and, basically getting assaulted every day. And some of them could be children. So that's kind of like the higher end of it. Now, there's some sides of this too to human trafficking where the enabler, which would be the customer, the purchaser of services and goods from a business, legitimate or illegitimate, that uses not child, it uses human trafficking labor. So, for example, say you're an advertising company or an investment company, and you order some places like they'll have like a masseuse come in and give everyone a massage for the day in the office, and it's someone that may be an immigrant or most of the time they are, and they'll do their job or whatever, but they could be coerced if it's from a shady place or maybe not as reputable. Um, and they may not know about it. And if you're a small or medium-sized corporation that doesn't really have time to do this, but you have enough money to do it, you'll hire uh, one of these services, but you won't really look into it. You know, so that could be one end of it where you're unaware of it, where the purchaser of the services is unaware. Now, there could be purchasers of the service that have legitimate businesses or are legitimate members of the community and know what they're doing, meaning they get a masseuse And it's really like, hey guys, go in there and she'll give you a hand job, or he'll or the child, and they know about it. Those people are criminally at fault. They will be just as fucked as um yeah, the sellers, the kidnappers. So it's kind of like, we have all this stuff going on, right, in our country with kidnapping, and no one really knows, can point to what criminal organization specializes in it, how they're doing it, why they're doing it, um, where specifically they're targeting it. Like, yes, we have general aspects of it, but where specifically? Um, there's a lot of questions for sure, that we have answered, or need to have answered, rather, especially when it comes to the governmental end of it, which would be the big boy, the criminal organized element of it, where people are saying it's the Department of Homeland Security, it's the Clintons, it's the Obamas, they're trafficking children, which some of their findings are interesting to say the least. There's released emails from Hillary Clinton that tipped a lot of people off. There's the destruction of the Libyan government, which led to the largest open air market for slavery and human trafficking on planet Earth to this day, which is in Tripoli, Libya. So there's a lot of human trafficking going on in that country. And Hillary Clinton authorizing the airstrikes in 2011 on Libya and killing Muammar Gaddafi, the president of Libya, it doesn't look too good for her from all these perspectives. However, I've not read the emails, nor do I know much. I only took a cursory glance at the emails. But there is a accusation against Miss Clinton where she and supposedly Uma Abedin, which I think is Anthony Weiner's wife. I don't know. Supposedly they mutilated and tortured a girl and then pursued to have unconsensual sex with this child, supposedly, and it's on this film called Frazzle Drip or whatever the fuck. And it sounds something like so crazy, right? Because the conspiracy theory then goes, right, that they're harvesting the adrenal gland of children, which when terrorized, the adrenal gland produces a lot of adrenals, I guess. And that is the key for ultimate life, which is why all the rich people live until their 90s and hundreds. When in reality, it's probably just because they get some of the best medical care and attention in the world, and they don't have to work a normal job, and they have advisors to do things, and they just have to make a final decision. And we, regular people die in their 70s or 80s because they don't have access to things, or maybe they die in their 60s because they're abusing substances. You know, like my family, like we fortunately, knock on wood, we live in very late, past the 80s usually. And so do a lot of world leaders, Maybe it's good genetics, maybe it's also really great medical care. So, you know, that's just something that we need to be keep in mind too when we listen to these theories. Not to dismiss them, they could be legitimate, but you never know. Anyway, thanks again to oh, is this thing gonna shut off? It's probably gonna shut off. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's gonna shut off. And I turned my camera back on. Okay, now I would just like to say thank you again for listening to episode 242 of Backpacking America. If anyone has some really great video camera recommendations they'd like to drop in the comments or message me on all my socials or email me backpackingamericapodcasting@gmail.com. Um, please feel free to do so because I am really tired of my camera consistently shutting off and shutting back and turning back on during a live stream. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed my little ranty rant and my little things that scared me on TikTok. Let me know in the comments too for my Instagram followers uh some things that you found on TikTok or experienced in real life that freaked you out, whether it be paranormal, um cryptid wise, or just a frightening life experience that isn't too traumatizing, but is like, whoa, that was pretty creepy. Um, thank you